Stage with D.Moss, where we don't just talk music, we trace the journey behind the sound. My guest today is a true musical shapeshifter, someone who's gone from dominating dance floors around the world to crafting soul-stirring narratives that speak directly to the heart. You may know her as Terri B, the voice behind Billboard's chart toppers and global EDM anthems who worked with the legends. But today, we're going to shine a spotlight on Terri Green, the soulful storyteller who's reclaiming the mic on her own terms. Her latest release, Two Wrongs Definitely Don't Make It Right. Okay, it's called Two Wrongs Don't Make It Right. It's a Southern soul gem. The song has become Terri's top performing video on YouTube, racking up over 50,000 views, and marks a return to the honest, heartfelt sound that defines her most personal work. Bear with me, people, because I am excited. But she ain't done yet. Another Southern Soul single is already on the way this summer, and hopefully we're going to get an inside tip on it. And with each release, Terri continues to prove that she's an artist in constant evolution. So today we're going to talk growth, legacy, and the fearless pursuit of authenticity. This is more than music. It's a masterclass in reinvention. Let's turn the page with Miss Terri Green. Hello,
Hey
man.
D. Hi
Welcome.
D. I'm really, really glad to be here. I'm humble when anyone wants to allow me to be on their platform, and it's not like a big flaming discotheque somewhere in the planet. I mean, for
Right,
most artists, they're just doing this soul thing. They just Tony Armanio, whoever it is, Lettucey, Jill Scott. They just in the U.S. They're in D.C. They're in Philly, and they just kind of fell into the music that they love right away.
right,
They're in the South. They're in Carolinas, but I had to pretty much circle the globe, knowing all along from the beginning that I wanted to be as soulful as possible.
wow,
Graduating from Florida A&M. I'm originally from, so my grandparents, I was raised in two parts. Military parents, had been in Europe as a kid, so I already had that bug about dance and electronic stuff. But um, people were really confused because I loved country music as a kid.
mm-hmm,
I was trying to get people like Avicii and these guys in the EDM world. Actually, Avicii was the only one I could find who was doing exactly what I wanted to do,
right,
which was this folky, soul-y music. And and it was legitimate. I had Taylor Swift's musical director, Mike Meadows, is playing on one of my singles. So we really, you know, were authentically loving the vibe. So now that it's translated over to the soul, the trail rides, the songs, the music that is really black culture at its best.
right.
Um, I'm very, very humbled to even have anything that works that they like. And these streams are not paid for. When I was looking, I was like, yo, Marvin, what's going on with this record? Like, isn't it too slow? Like, people liking it? Because it was the first time in my life I did music where I could just be 100% myself.
Right. So
You
you
know,
are, so you are the essence of soul music. Southern soul. It's just you.
it's just soul to me. I mean, it's from the South, yes, but they love it in New York. New York's been on Southern. Mel Waiters and Bobby Rush are a staple of Harlem. You can go into any black bar, any soul bar, you're going to hear those records because everybody comes from the South
You know what?
originally.
I'm so glad you said that because growing up, I didn't know the difference between any. Been here 100 years, and
Me too.
I'm like, well, what's the? I used to be like, well, what's the difference between Southern soul, country soul, and soul music?
So,
Yeah, it's so. I mean, when I say soul, not that box. It's like soul music,
yeah.
storyline. It's like a living testimony. Am I
And
wrong?
that's why I'm so proud of people like TK Soul, Lenny Williams,
Right,
Jeter Jones, Memphis. I met so many of these guys I've met on that show where I didn't know who anybody was. It's
right,
just crazy that it was so authentically black culture and no one had done the culture vulture yet where people steal it and reinvent it and turn it into their own. For me, I'm not saying other people can't enjoy music. Yes, enjoy
right.
it. But in a moment right now, watching my university, Florida, and them being stripped of, like, trying to be stripped of its culture and its identity, just because we're in HBCU, It's a
Right.
moment where I'm not feeling that kind of behavior. I'm feeling like you can't love the culture, but don't love the culture.
Want the
Yeah.
rhythm but don't want the blues. I hear you.
Yeah. So right now, when I was at Spring Fling in 2022, I saw people, coolers, they wanted 25,000. I never forget because I was checking this out. I'm looking like a kid in a candy store. I didn't know what was going on. And then all of a sudden, it was nearly 50,000 people there. Peaceful, kind, pulling the cooler, any kind of body shape, any kind of hair color, any kind of alcoholic beverage. It was just freedom.
Right.
Nobody was, I went in the bathroom. This is a real story. I'm still looking like, shoot, do I have records for this? Glad it's only a 3 minute set. And there was some girls in the bathroom and they said to me, lady, ma'am, they call me ma'am, it's down south
Right.
Alabama. They said, ma'am, you your makeup's real nice. You look really. I said, oh my God, girls, I could be all of y'all's mom, but I appreciate it was so much positive energy.
Right.
And so
That's
that
dope.
is what people love about the trail run. They love it that ain't nobody talking bad about how you look, what size you are, how dark your skin is. Everybody's there just having a good time.
That's what's up. That's beautiful.
And that's what I learned. And so I felt like the next time I came back with a record, I'm gonna be on point as a writer. And
Hmm.
because I knew I could do that. Misty Blues like my favorite record of all time. I played it today, getting ready for your show. Like that soul to me that I wanted to translate to the Southern soul scene.
That's beautiful. That's what's up. Let me talk about your latest single for a second. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Two songs don't make it right. It's one of your biggest YouTube successes. What does that level of listener connection mean to you at this point in your career?
So it is about people infidelity. That's what it was about.
Yep.
But if people who know me as a writer know I always take a different space. And this would solidify me not as saying, oh, I cheated and this is my life. It was saying, I'm going to take subjects that happen to mature people and I'm going to write about it. And that's how we got there.
Okay, that's what's up.
And people
Um,
go through those situations. And so I wasn't going to be the lady stripped down with her boobs out at the concert. So I was going to have to find my way. I wasn't going to be the best dancer. I can
okay,
catch a line, but I knew I was going to be able to talk to women, talk to men, talk to people who live some life. And
okay,
people would say, yo, she real talk, she gets it. So that's my space I'm trying to find within the world, the
okay.
scene.
That's what's up.
And
So that's really important to you in terms of. So for you, it's I'm assuming it's bigger than just singing a song. You're really trying to conversate with people with
right.
your music.
Right. A conversation where you actually tell stories. Each one is a different story.
Yeah.
And the story will be something, usually pain or happiness. I can all do happiness all day long. But I wanted to find a way to do with every word that I sung, they understood that I was telling the story as a storyteller should. In the middle of it, I have I had a picture in my mind for every single pieces of text that I wrote. And I wrote it like 15 minutes because the
Right.
guy sent me this track, Lorenzo Johnson, who wrote and produced for Lettucey out in
Hmm.
LA, a connection that I made from Urban Influencer with Marvin Mack. We've been talking about doing this forever. And he kept saying, you need to do this space. You need to do this space. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not a fake person. So,
Right.
nah. And Lorenzo sent me how it starts, nearly exactly the same, not too much mix on it. And I came up with that verse right away and sat down in the living room and sung it to my mother in a room full of people with not 100% the lyric, but nearly. And I said, what do y'all think about that? What if I go like, too wrong? And they were like, that's it. And
Wow.
that's how that came up. Yeah. And my mother said, I think you got a good record. I said, I think so too.
Can you just hit that quick clip one more time?
Too wrong. Ooh, don't make it right. I
Mm.
know it don't. I just, I want to. My voice is really weird. It sounds good when it's alone, but I'm not a high. I don't have a lot of octaves. As a writer, I write for other people. I felt like when I hear Lettucey and Jill Scott, they're just doing 4 or 5 octaves, and I'm just so blown away. And then Marvin said, "Stay, do you. It'll be fine." I was very insecure about that, because when I do my people, you got to come correct.
Well, let me tell you that do what you just saying watered my eyes up real quick.
We had a lot of compliments from other artists. I know Lacey said she loved the record. I think Jeter Jones loved the record. Quite a few people reached out, and said they loved it. Someone actually did their own version of it already. Crazy. Somebody sat in their car, some lady on YouTube, and I think she was really cheating, and she was using the song in the car. It was crazy. But yeah, people are using it. But I hope each time I do a record that these songs will keep that red line inside of it.
Man, that's dope. Wow. I mean, I love the song. I got a chance to listen to it a few times once Tangy sent it to me. And I'm like, why didn't I hear this on the radio when I was up north? I'm down here now and I'm hearing it. And I'm
Yeah,
like, never too
I
late. I love it.
Columbia is one of the Columbia in Atlanta. I think Columbia is probably #1 playing it right now. And it's funny because what I love about 803 Fresh, shout out, is that all of us, and them included, did not come from people. People didn't want to play their record,
Right.
and the people were saying. Jazzy Jeff just said it today. I just saw him. He came up in L.A., Hollywood. They were like, "We want to hear Boots on the Ground." And what they don't understand, it's not only about the song and the dance, it's that we're finding ourselves in the midst of being pretty terrorized right now by so much political nonsense. We're only 13% of the population, but we get like 90% of the vitriol and hate. And, next to the Latinos, we're running neck and neck with trying to survive. So we just know how to go to a better place and clear our heads. And that's what this record, I think that's what 803 Fresh is about. Clearing your head and just having a good time.
It's I'm so happy to hear you say that. On the other side of like interviewing entertainers and singers and artists, I also have a lot of, on panels with a lot of, folks who we talk about social political conditions of black folks.
Mm-hmm.
And to see you just talk about oh my gosh, talk about that interchange between our music and what we're going through socially and politically.
It hurts.
Go
It
ahead.
hurts. Man, it hurts. It hurts, D. It hurts to be knowledgeable and to have traveled. When I tell you I spent 15 years in Russia, I spent the equal amount of time in Ukraine. I performed in Beirut, Moldova, Belarus, all these places that we talk about, Brazil, Chile, Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, to have circled the planet and understand people are good, inherently good. It's only when we try to poison the mind that we can get them to do ridiculous stuff and believe ridiculous stuff. Because I tell you one thing, if your car catch on fire, sorry, I just hit if your car catches on fire and there's only an Arab man walking down the street, you're gonna be quite cool with Arabs. If you're all alone and you're out of money, you run out of gas, and a white man comes down the street and you don't normally deal with white, you're gonna be like, "Thank you, sir. Thank you. Can you help me?" This is only when we just go in our little corners, but in reality, it's ridiculousness
Absolutely.
and it's painful.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. It's almost like I don't know. I heard somebody say to an extent when it comes down to the music that we listen to during trying times, our music becomes spiritual. And
It is.
and
You
it's
don't see the fans clacking, clack, clack, clack. It's about we bringing that from the church. We have fans in church from birth. So people keep acting like the fan is a symbolism of black church.
right,
It's not the drag queen club. It is as well.
right.
That's cool too. But it was black church where we were,
Absolutely.
and as much this makes us it helps us to retain our power in a very powerless moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Preach. Wow. You know what? I'm gonna play this a whole lot in a number of contexts because it needs to be heard from the people who actually sing it. And I mean, I love what it just threw my whole line of questioning off with you saying that, because honestly, because I'm so happy to hear it. They say when you know, you know. And when someone says it to you and you hear it, it's like, wow. And then the fact that, your voice is just so incredible. To an extent, I look at the music industry, and which is why I love like soul music. I mean, our soul music, not
Yes.
mainstream, but our soul music. Because there's something spiritual about somebody singing like their last meal is on the ground, or they're confessing something. When you talk about two wrongs don't make it right, when you get that
Yes.
confession and you can let it out to the world, man, there's something spiritual about that. It's like when I can close my eyes and listen to what you're singing or what you're saying, and it's just like, wow, and it just resonates. I think I said it before we went on the air. I need that. I love music.
Right. I need it.
When I'm sitting in my car after I pull in, I'm like, before I go in the house, I got to de-escalate. I need
Yes.
music that's gonna quell my soul. It's like being in church back in, I'm a '60s baby, back in the '70s, '80s, back when they had testimony service, and someone's, singing, and just, oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I love.
So, and we are resilient. The culture, African American culture is resilient. It
Yeah,
doesn't deny other cultures' resiliency as well. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is, um, we need to always, we've always been very clever about when we need to come on and correct and ignore the nonsense. Like you see pretty much nationally, people going, nah, we're not, nah, we're not, no, no, no. And this is rare because I mean, like I said, I'm a FAMU graduate, I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta.
okay,
I've been a Ray for a long time, but I'm pro everything that's pro human being first.
right,
And so I don't know, nothing comes beyond, my belief. And I'm a very spiritual person. And I think that no building will tell me how to be a good person. But
right,
the way I was raised with the church, with my grandmothers, with that whole Southern soul is all of that. It's grandma saying, girl, get up. We're going out to the fish fry. It's the church fish fry in Spar, Florida. These people taught me. My uncle used to bump. Um, he used to bump blues and stuff as we went down the road in Ocala, backwoods. And I was like, what's this? This is cool.
right, right. That's wow. I hear you 100%. Um, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to take in everything you just said.
Man,
You
it's
realize
crazy
it,
because
but
Lorenzo Johnson just hit me up, who is a beast of a producer. I'm just about to send him a text and just tell him to jump on the call. Lorenzo produced so many hits that I don't know why he messed with me and said, "Yo, let me do this record," but I'm really glad he did. When you hear the guitar, and I'm not taking nothing from singing and all of the rest, but when you hear the guitar, you go, "What is that? Oh, this cat did this." And then that was history. When I got that guitar loop, I was just like, "Yo, this is gonna be a record."
wow.
Before I sung anything.
Okay, that's dope. Now, tell everybody who Lorenzo. Like for those of us who don't know, tell us who Lorenzo Johnson is.
So Lorenzo Johnson produced "Gotta Get to Know You." That was a really good record from Let It See. That was one of her first two albums. They worked together on a lot of music. He produced for her, produced for Chuck Brown. He produced and wrote for um, CC Peniston. It's a really long list,
Okay,
and he is just a credible producer out in Los Angeles. Big studio guy, and I was not thinking someone like that was gonna just jump on with me, some little house queen, house music chick. But he did, and I'm just really blessed that he said yes. And
that's
this is the first thing we did together, and I was like, "What, dude?
wow.
This is yeah." Because he was like, "Well, I don't really know. I'm just gonna put something together for you after church." He's one of those guys. After church, after I come, he plays like 1 million instruments. It's every instrument he played on that record.
Every instrument.
He played bass, he played keys, he played anything that's on it. He played everything, and he did the production as well. So Lorenzo, a beast. I know exactly why he's been able to work with the people he's been able to work with because he's just fantastic.
Wow. That's wow. Who else have you worked with? I'm just kind of curious.
Wow. So in the dance world, I toured alone, like together with David Guetta and people like this, Avicii, these dance guys, many of the most famous ones, Bob Sinclair. And in the world of soul, I actually have worked with, so there's a group called NWO, it's a horn section. And they were all the original horn players, two of them, Wandell Brown and Dr. Gilbert Pryor for Gladys Knight. They played for Barry White originally. So when I was coming in to write and work with them, they were like, "Yeah, we played, yeah, Lena Horne. Yeah, we were with Obama here. They're those cats." And I was like,
Right.
Lenny Harris is a sax player who used to be a part of uh, a very famous group. I forgot the group's name, but you'll know. I'll come up with it in a second. But he started out in the '70s and was friends with Sheldon Reynolds,
Okay.
best friends. And so he kept giving me these connections. Oh, you need to work with Jamil Faith Johnson. So Caught Up, the record preceding this, was produced, kind of co-produced, mixed, and created with me and Jamil Faith Johnson, who actually does the mixing and production for Let Us See. And Raheem Devon was his artist.
Okay.
So I was really with these studio guys. It was a dream. I had prayed on that, and it
Okay.
actually came true. I said, "Yo, I need to work with that level. I'm ready."
Wow.
And one of my best friends is Randy Hall, who you may know from producing Rubber Band for Miles Davis.
Wow.
Randy Hall was a star in the '80s with Jesse's Girl. He was like somebody on Star. You probably remember him from Soul Train. Randy was produced by Ray Parker Jr., and that's how I met Ray. We have a whole WhatsApp group with me, Ray, Gene Carn, Frida Payne. It's a whole
What?
thing. Yeah. And I just hung up with last night on my podcast. I actually have a podcast called The Green Room, which I
Okay.
only interview people that I'm working with or hanging out with. And this was Wanda Vaughn. Not Wanda wasn't on, but because she was out that day. But her husband is Wayne Vaughn. Wayne Vaughn wrote and produced "Let's Groove Tonight." There's almost no bigger record in the world. So that
Right.
is you got to have him on this show. Like that's a whole character. L.A. knew everybody. Michael Jackson at 10. You know, he's that guy.
Wow.
Um, and so that's where I've gotten my education. Just being people just kind of have liked me, and we vibed, and we just stay in contact. And then later we talking for 2 hours about how I'm coming to barbecue with them out in L.A. Like, why you ain't coming? When you getting out here? Because we all very passionate about what we do.
Right.
So those are just a few people that I've worked with. John Lampkin the third, who used to play drums for John B, and he wrote for Najee. He's writing the next single, which is a record called Southern Stroll, which
Okay.
is crazy because I don't even know if my promoter wanted me to go that route, but he had just did the music after one of our concerts, and I'm like, I got you. And I'm a dance girl anyway, so that was really easy to do.
Okay.
And again, same vibe, same color, texture as Caught Up. I mean, of Two Wrongs, and yeah, just a ton of people that have made me. Tangi has been incredible for me. She takes a lot of my phone calls of, I don't know, you think I'm doing this right? Is this cool? Is this good? And Tangi's been the one saying, putting the train back on the track between
Right.
her and Mark. And you kind of, everybody wants to be successful and say, look what I did. But you have a team always helps you get where you're going,
Gotcha.
whether it's dance, music. I'm really good friends. Me and Crystal Waters. Crystal's absolutely the coolest chick in house and dance. And we toured together probably 20 years. I know Crystal. And she's so humble, like day one. So those are the people that you still have so much love and sisterhood with because they just cool like that. Barbara Tucker, same thing. So my
Yeah.
house family has maintained, but I just didn't have that one hit like they did. I'm like, come on, CC, you got Ultra, you got Free, and Crystal got La Da Di La Da Da. I got
Yes.
4,000 songs. I'm out.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm sitting here listening to you talk about who the circle is, or like the folks. And I'm just like,
Well, the Jones girls just landed in Hamburg, Shirley and the girls, and Jean Carn and I are we are WhatsApp girls. Like we text and talk all the time. And
right.
I had a concert, and Silver is married to the guy to a friend of Jean. So I'm like, Jean, I'm at my show, and there's a guy here that knows you. She said, "Child, I put his wife in chic." I was like, what? So you know people like that. Like Jean is arriving Saturday. We're gonna spend a whole day together.
Hmm.
Like she's my soulful auntie, and they're just living and traveling, and they are a testament to standing the test of time and being great.
Wow. You know what? Me, I'm just a regular dude. So I got to ask this question. And it looks like Lorenzo just popped on. That is that him? Yes.
Hey, how's it going?
How's it going, man?
Pretty good, no complaints.
All right. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Same here.
You got to tell me what's it like being around, just that amount of talent, man. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Terry, can you hear me? Uh-oh. I don't think, but Lorenzo, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
All right. Terry, can you hear me now? Okay, something just happened and her volume just went off. She can't hear me. Give me a second. Let me see what's happening. Okay. Can you hear me now, Terry?
So Lorenzo, can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't hear anyone. I'm not exactly sure why.
Hmm, that's interesting. All right, so I'm gonna edit this part out, so we'll still be good.
Okay,
Um,
I can hear you. Lorenzo, can you say something now?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got to take my. Somehow this is blocking me from hearing. So I hope you can still hear me as well as you did before.
yep.
Great.
Uh-oh.
Lorenzo, the magic man. He's very hard to get on an interview. I'm just letting you know that.
Oh no.
All right. Lorenzo, introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Lorenzo Johnson, producer, songwriter, musician.
All right. Tell me what's it like working with Terry Green?
Oh, it's been amazing. It was kind of just organic the way things came together. Marv Mack introduced us, and probably within a day we had a song already started, and it was already in motion like within a day. So it was just an organic connection, and you know it's- I'm looking forward to excuse me, I'm looking forward to many more uh, songs that we can do together in the future.
Okay. And I know she has some wonderful things to say about you, right, Ms. Green?
I did, but I mean, he has to tell you. Like he's worked with. I just tried to remember some of the people you've worked with. He's so humble. You have to pull it out. Like, but maybe you can tell him
Oh, we
because
got to pull it out. All right, Lorenzo, you have to go a little bit further. Tell us who you really are. Talk
Well,
about the work you've done. He's like, wait a minute, I'm on the spot. Yeah, you are.
yeah, I've worked with some R&B artists like Ledisi, Calvin Richardson,
Mm, mm.
uh, Mesa, and on the hip hop side, uh, done some did a song with recently with Big Sean. I'm a composer on there as well.
Okay.
And what else? A few other. I have a website. You can check out some of the things that I've worked on.
Okay. And you humble because the names you just dropped are
I
like,
know he's like, well, Chuck Brown, CC Peniston, Lettucey. I don't know, maybe a
he
few.
said, I've worked with some, some Calvin Richardson, bro. Oh,
Yeah,
you're one of those guys. It's like when you listen to folks when they get in their Grammys and they name all these people, you go, "Well, who is that?" And it's kind of like, "Oh, now I can say I know that name."
right.
Calvin Richardson, he's like a brother to me. We developed a relationship over the years, and just kept just working and working, and just we talk all the time.
Okay, I love his music.
Yeah.
And
And
I think this industry is becoming, what I love about the soul scene, I know we want to tag it Southern or classic or retro blues, it's all soul, is that it works best when it's authentic and organic.
right,
Yeah.
Like that's what I was not loving about house music anymore, because I really love soulful house stuff. And I love some electronic stuff and experimental things, but at the point where you're trying to force me to the hit, that starts to be a little, you know, weird and odd,
a little
and then I
unnatural.
got older and I just wanted to be black. Just wanted to
Oh,
be black.
And you know what? I think moving forward, you just taught me a lesson. I think when I'm interviewing people, I'm just gonna throw the box out the window.
Right.
Because if we're talking soul music, it should literally come, let's go back to the basics. It's music from the soul. It's music you feel in, you
Right.
get brought
Right.
to. Oh, am I wrong? I mean, you guys
No.
make music. I just interview.
Well, I don't make, how many instruments do you play, Lorenzo?
just a couple, a few.
Okay,
I'll
see
say a
what
few.
I'm saying? Like this, just like
Come
what?
on.
No, seriously, at least four.
Somewhere around there. I don't know.
All I know is on my record, there's no other musicians. Bass, keys, drums, everything's Lorenzo. So I don't know how he couldn't figure out how many instruments that was at least, but that's who he is, man. And I'll tell you one thing: for
Yeah.
someone who was really like myself, self-conscious about the whole thing, when somebody tells you I'm gonna connect you with somebody, I was, oh no, this ain't gonna work out, and I'm not gonna be vibing because I'm a very sensitive person. And then Lorenzo was just like, yo, hey, yeah, okay. And I never knew he did any of those records with any of those people. When we went in to work, it was just like he sent me a folder. It had a lot of ideas he had worked on. And then our mutual contact said, no, but I still need something else. He said, well, I'm gonna come in from church and I'm gonna sit down for a little while and see what I can come up with. I got that record, put it on my phone, sung the hook like in the living room, and the rest was history. And Lorenzo said something to me that he probably doesn't remember. I remember all his words. I said, Lorenzo, do you really think we can do something that's gonna work? He said, well, a lot of things I did seem to work. I said, okay. They kind of work, I haven't really failed yet. And now I'm watching us when I tell you, I have not had an independent, not when people dumped 100K into the record, but on a record where it's been just me and Lorenzo and our partner, just, putting a dollar here, putting a dollar, to have 50, more than 50 something thousand. Every day it's like 3,000 listeners now. It's crazy. And
And
all because the record just caught on to some song, and now people say, whoa, I like that. But they must hear that first guitar. Ding, 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 ding. You see, I'm already ready for the trail ride.
Good.
This is old, like all of this is old. I swear I'm not fake. I can't stand when people are fake. And I'm so happy I met you, Lorenzo. Seriously.
same here. Same here. And it's funny that you say that. Like everything that I work on, I feel like it's going to work. And I feel like when an artist has that feeling too, it comes off that way. Like people feel the energy that you put out in a record. Like if it's confidence, if it's sadness, if it's whatever it is, joy, the listener is going to feel the same thing that you feel. So if you feel like unsure about what you're doing, they're going to get that same feeling.
Exactly.
You know
Or
what I'm
if your
saying?
heart isn't in it, if you're not
Yeah.
100% in it. I have
Mhm.
records that I'm not 100% in it. I remember I was in the car and I said, Brandon, you know this record? To my son, I put on Get to Know You because it was a record I loved.
Oh, yeah.
Lorenzo never told me he had nothing to do with it. So I'm just chilling. I played the record to my son. He said, yo, I love that record. How you know I like that record? I said, that's Lorenzo. He produced that and wrote it. Nah, ma, nah. I said, yeah. So, but who would think that your journey takes you to people that's happened a few times now for me.
Right.
Um, and not only in soul music, also working with Steve Dorff, the father of the actor. Steve Dorff wrote like Through the Years, the Growing Pains theme. That is my brother. Like I sit at his house and we sit on his piano. And when he met me, nobody else wanted to write with me. We were in Poland. They were like, oh, I got a Grammy. I got 4 Grammys. Everybody had Grammys and not me. So I went in the basement with the little Polish boy. We were just on the piano, and he came down and said, "I like the way you write. Take this piece of music to the hotel and come back with the rest of the lyrics tomorrow." It took me more than a day. It took me like a couple days. But when I came back, he said, that's really effing good. And then
Wow.
that was the rest of that. I just think we connect through music. And I've never cared how many record sales anybody's had or how famous you are. I've just seen too many lives gone too fast. And this industry can swallow people up.
Let me ask you both a question. Given the rise of, like, I know Marvin's doing a lot of work with Urban Influence, and they're doing a lot of work with folks who are independent artists. Do you think, like, the whole indie movement, I don't even want to call it a movement, do you think people are going back to trying to make independent music so that the music can come from a real place? Like Lorenzo says, he's sitting on the couch and just, I hear a song created, she hears it, ooh, I feel that, and come up with a verse that just seems like it was just, supposed to be together. Do you think people, like, artists, musicians, are trying to get back to that place where they can just make music that's real and not factory made music that just doesn't fit? Do you think that's a thing that's, I don't know, I just see a lot changing in terms of who we are as a
D,
people, what we're reverting
D,
back
we
to?
had to. They pushed us out. They
Okay.
pushed they pushed the soulful voices out of house and called it house. They pushed the soulful voices out of Eurodance and called it techno. They pushed the soulful people out of R&B and hip hop and then got people that weren't looking like us to do, which is not a problem. Anybody can be a rapper. I'm a huge
Right.
Eminem fan. But you can't just grab it all and say we don't belong. So then people say, I got my boots on the ground. We're going right over to the trail
Right.
ride and do some original songs that nobody would want to be there as a major label thinking it could work.
Right.
So I saw it in 2022, as I said before. They kind of forced their hand on that. And now they're chasing, the dog is chasing its tail because people are exhausted with, if I'm not going to make money having a major deal, like Tony Braxton had said, people, you don't go broke because you don't have money. You pay every single cost,
Right.
even when you don't realize it. So in the end of the day, you're getting some peanuts back. People are not feeling that.
But
So
people are
now we,
but people are feeling the music. So I'm like, you mentioned Tony Armani. I remember I discovered his music on Instagram. Like, ooh,
me too.
I'm like, well, who's this? Then I see a dude called Anthony Q. People are just making really, 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 really good music
Tonio was the same thing.
without the pressure, without any corporate pressure. They're just making, and I'm just like, my whole playlist is completely different today than it was in terms of the type of music that I had on my playlist 10 years ago when I was on radio.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
now it's a great time for indie artists because the barrier to entry is so low now. It doesn't take much to put out your own record. But I think like a lot of the messages that are being put out on social media that there isn't any money in music. There's plenty of money in music, but it's like if you just put all of you want to make it all, it's just kind of like investing. If you want to make all your money from just $100, you want to make $1 million off 100, you're gambling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're an artist and you just continue and be consistent and put out music, it's bound to catch. And then over time, you're building a catalog that's creating more and more passive income, residual income. You know what I mean? It takes time.
So it's a slow, steady grind, is what you're saying.
We're
Slow,
grinding
steady
all the
grind.
time. I
Yes.
just got back from Malta and some other countries and some other ones, and I work. I had to learn another language in order to work to have this job that's pretty easy for me to do, but you have to be on the road all the time. But
Right.
the end goal is when I sing Two Wrongs, which I'll do on Friday in Berlin, I'll be like, this is what it's this is so worth it to me. And like he said, you can't just wait on the one golden egg that's gonna pop. You might have to do a couple of things. Even after I had number one in Spain and Italy, in a whole country, we still was like not having the money for our rent back in the day. So we knew, oh, this has got this go. You gotta wait until the everything starts flowing. So you gotta keep working. I was
Right.
slinging burgers. There go all the scars on my arm right there from back in the day at the military base. because I had a child. I could not just pretend like I was a number one artist and sit there and let bills pile up. I'm like, how many jobs do I need to get? And I don't care what video is running on television. I need coins right now. And so I did what I had to do, but I still tried to stay free, not exclusive with people. Try to still, so I had freedom to do the music I love.
Okay.
So that was why I paid the price, but I'm totally happy with that choice.
Okay. So slow grind, persevere, let your music come from a real place.
And work with good, talented, on level people. Like I said a prayer. I think I cried to Lorenzo. I know I cried over at Jamil Faye's studio, at Raheem's studio. When he played a record back, my sister said, "You never sounded black ever. This is crazy." They said, "We've been hearing you on so many records, and you've never sounded like this."
Wow.
So tears just started streaming down. And when I met Lorenzo, for a lot of people, they take it for granted because they don't have to do that global circle that I had to do. But to be sitting in the studio hearing these records, hear what he sent to me, that it's working, that two people would have streamed it, would have been, well, great. We talking about, we're going to definitely go to 100,000 people looking at a song that I couldn't have imagined it.
Right.
And Lorenzo, I'm just thankful, man. He's so peaceful. He's always like this. One other little issue, he's vegan. So he keeps trying to tell me how I'm gonna get vegan ribs in LA. That might not really work out for us. We're gonna check that out.
So Lorenzo, you're in LA right now?
Yeah, I'm in LA. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you a question, Lorenzo. Given the work that you do behind the scenes with music and everything, how often do you work with folks who are just like relatively unknown, but you might see them out somewhere, hear them once? No, you're known in your own circles. That's cheat. You got a cheat code. How often do you work with people who just like you hear somebody and go, "Wow, they got a lot of potential"? Does that still happen?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Like either by referral or just by just like organic connection, like what happened with I had heard about Terri,
Okay.
before we connected too. So
Yo, but that's crazy. But that's a crazy story. How the universe is working. I work with my best friend who I met. We had 90 million streams, or 70 or 80 million streams with Avicii's label. I met him in Hamburg. The guy walked in. He had a guitar. He switched to a banjo. He started playing a line. I sung another line, "Blind Heart," never forget. That song became 80 million streams.
Wow.
And that guy said, "Come over to Maryland, where I'm from." I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I'm from Maryland." Then he said, "Well, why am I meeting you in Germany?" He flew back. We stayed friends. And one day I said to him, "Yeah, I'm working with this. Do you want to hear my song? Two wrongs." He said, "Oh, T, that's hot. You should do this." He added one line to it. So he added some. He said, "Who did that?" I said, "It's a guy named Lorenzo. Do you know Lorenzo?" Because Todd Wright's white, living in Loudoun County, Virginia. We be going to Taylor Swift concerts and stuff. We're that. And then all of a sudden he said, "Lorenzo Johnson? He plays at my festival once a year." I said, "Not LA, Lorenzo. He ain't from DC." He said, "Terri, I know Lorenzo for a long time and we work together." Go freaking figure.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Wow.
So now,
Terri, let me ask you a question. Being that you performed in all these other countries outside the US, do you think that they're more receptive to soul music or soulful music outside the country than they are inside the country? Or does that have to do with more the radio industry pushing a certain type of agenda with music? I'm just kind of
it
curious.
changed and it's very individual.
Okay.
At the drop of the impact of hip hop, and they started to make their own language hip hop translated to German or French or whatever. They then kind of moved away from just the Shaka Khans and the whatever. They were having their own soul scene, so to say, their own soul artists. They loved soul music, but then it wasn't American anymore. It became their own spin on what we created in the US.
Right.
That didn't change. They're into that. But what labels and like the big monsters like Universal and Sony, they want to force a certain narrative of success and what should be heard. So that clashes with the people actually getting pretty bored with that, and them jumping on just when they see enough streams or clicks or whatever. But there were no clicks on to just going back to Boots on the Ground. There were no clicks in the beginning.
Right.
Nobody cared about that group. Nobody heard of it. And people made that work. People did that. And a
Right.
very obscure little town down in South Carolina. So people were ignoring, a lot of people are written off in the marketing plan of record companies. We're not looking to promote to any middle-aged black ladies. That's dumb. They're not on our radar. But you see how impactful they are in this very moment.
Yeah.
You got Kamala Harris doing the thing. You got Michelle Obama. They ain't been interested in. You got Beyonce doing it. So they could have. Everyone could have been together on these kind of moments, but they can't because they just want to force the narrative of pop music being whatever that is and making that the only thing that they put budget.
Gotcha.
That's where they put the money. So I think overseas they do it even more. You know, now
Yeah.
the UK is the one exception, and I say France as well. They really love soul music, but they love old soul music.
Hmm.
They
Okay.
like Barry White. They like any B side of the vinyl that you can create with Frida Payne. Just drop something. You know, that's what they love. They're really following brand new heavies and um, soul. You know,
Yeah.
anybody who goes over Gladys Knight sold out.
Got you. I ain't mad at them for that. That's my favorite music too. I ain't mad.
They're not huge
Yeah.
fans of Coco Jones. You know, that
Right.
works on the BBCs, but that's not the music of the middle age still control the popular venue soul is very um throwback, so to say. Or classic soul. Let's call it classic soul.
Classic song. Okay. That's fair. Appreciate you answering that question. Lorenzo, I got a question for you. Since
Okay.
you're composing all the music,
Mhm.
digital compositions or compositions created by folks who get on the keyboard, bass guitar, trumpet and the whole night. I mean, getting back to like musicians making the music as opposed to somebody, with a earpiece on and they're doing the digital joint.
Yeah.
What talk about the difference? Which one do you prefer, when you're working with folks on new cuts?
I prefer the organic instrumentation just because just no two people are going to play something exactly the same with the it doesn't matter if everybody has the exact same instruments, nobody's going to play it the same way. You know what I mean? You kind of like create your unique sound from that.
Right. And Terry, as a singer, which one gives you more space to really let your voice shine, let your voice come through? The organic or the digital? I mean, which would you prefer as an artist?
Organic, because I don't play an instrument properly. So my voice is my instrument,
Yeah.
but I see music. It's a weird thing. I see like if I when I couldn't sing as well, I could see the notes and went, "Oh, you're not gonna hit that." Like you need to be a little bit more to hit that peak of where the sonic is. So I kind of because we didn't have money for lessons, so I just kind of figured it all out. So I really need somebody sitting there, and even though I could very well learn to play even better, there are people who are just going to get there faster. So for me, sitting with someone like Lorenzo,
Right.
he'll call me, he'll say to me, send me a hook idea. I ain't gonna have nothing but the iPad, and I'm gonna be like, too wrong. What do you think of that? He's like, I don't know. Da do da do. You are a musician in your head, so you melodically hear the sonics of where you want to be. I hear
Right.
every bass note. Like Michael Jackson used to come in to doom 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 doom. I had to learn every note of Ray Parker Jr.'s guitar. So when I was telling him more about his songs, he was like, "What the hell, Terry?" I was like, "I bet Prince had something to do with you." He said, "How did you know that?" Because I can hear it.
Wow.
And nobody gave Ray Parker any credit for having anything to do with Prince, but he set up his first studio and he taught him a lot of stuff with guitar, black artists playing guitar. And so I learned all that stuff from talking to cats like that. Just knowing that I'm not off, that my brain and my musical brain will give me the guidance to get there. Because I'm a lyricist too. So I need the voice to do what the lyrics need to do.
And can I say one more thing? I think like just having a hybrid approach works as well, because you can have some digital, and then just by adding that one live element, it takes it to another level too. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
And you see how more professional he sounded saying that.
I'm with the organic instrumentation. Do you see, like, with the return to soul music? I guess for both of y'all, well, folks really kind of keying back into like soulful soul, getting back to real soul music again.
Yeah.
With Juicy, I got my boots. I mean, he's like, I can.
But his voice is amazing. So it isn't like he's a half singing dude that barely made it through the song. Yeah, we tired of people half singing their songs.
Thank you. So I'm wondering, I'm hoping, like me personally, I'm hoping there's a shift back to soul music. Do you see, our community going? And it's like, it has nothing to do with, not anti anybody else. I'm just talking to our community. We were family. I'm hoping that this kind of escorts us back into, the era of folks singing again, and not discouraging people from letting their voices loose, or the musician who's working a corporate job because people are telling them playing the bass isn't really worth the effort anymore. Do you think this is going to kind of bring us back to where we were musically? I'm hoping, because I'm looking at, cuts like yours hit. I'm listening to some of the other folks who are out there, and I'm saying, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, some people are writing that in the comments.
I'm sorry?
I heard that in the comments. I saw people wrote, "Thank you, Terry, for taking it back to the soul, because I almost gave up." Somebody wrote a whole paragraph about it. I'm gonna have to go back and look some more, but there's quite a lot of comments of that exact sentiment that you just expressed. Of all I know is that in my ear, I felt lost as a musician. I knew I was not gonna, as much as I love R&B of today, and I do. I download, I stream, I listen to stuff like Money Long, who I really love. Money Long, Coco Jones, Thames, all these artists. But that's not where my voice would fit. So I didn't know what I was gonna do until this scene came along where I, could do really the records that fit the kind of way that we could fit in. And I think soul is here to stay in this format until we all die off.
Okay.
I think there was like a level of conformity that was coming to the marketplace. So like if one person was just doing everything in the box, when I say in the box, I'm referring to digital, everything is just in the box. It was easier. It was probably cheaper to do. And so they were just following whatever was going on instead of having unique identities. So now, like with the soul movement, I think it's going to create more unique sounds.
Right. And like I think you have to, every artist, I'm sad. I was very saddened when we left the era of, oh, a record's on, you come from radio. Oh, that's Mariah. You didn't tell me the title. You didn't say the artist yet. Oh, that's Whitney. Oh, I know Money Long. No, I got her. But oh, that's Whitney Houston. That's the Barbara Tucker. Whoever, you knew who these artists were. Gene Carn, for example, who we talked about. Frida Payne. I didn't like it when I stopped recognizing who was singing.
Right. I can tell Jodeci from Guy. I can tell the OJ
from
the Spinners. Everybody had Michael Jackson. Prince came out with a new cut, I heard it. And it's interesting. So as I ask that question, I'm thinking when I go on Spotify and some of the other platforms, I have a tendency to look for artists that no one's ever heard of.
Wow.
So I can hear, like, I just, there's nothing like originality when it comes down to music and art. Can you imagine all painters painting the same picture?
Yeah, and your sound is like your fingerprint. Everything is unique. Like just a buddy of mine, he's a guitar player on the East Coast, and he was saying, he called me one day. He was like, "Man, I heard this record. I knew it was you playing on there just by listening to it." And so every artist should strive to be that, like just to be able to pull from all these different resources. Like if this is your favorite singer, like you might have 100 singers that you listen to, but you should be able to pull little things from all of them to create your own sound, not just be like, okay, this one person, I'm going to be that person. Because there's already a Chris Brown, there's already a Usher. You know, all of these people are already there, so you can't be that person. You know what I mean? Just be the best
And I
you.
think that started with the singing shows.
Yeah.
The very where everyone online says we need to copy someone else's song in order to be famous. So I started to there's a lot of girls that go, watch me run. Watch me sing like SWV, but we don't need you because Coco's doing just fine. Like we don't need to see anybody singing weak for real, because Coco's still out singing anybody who makes the attempt.
Right.
So if that's your career goal as an artist is to go out and sing somebody's voice, I don't know. That's just not interesting to me.
I think it also, I'm gonna throw my little 3 cents in, having been in radio, it's kind of like it also got to the point where we seen less and less independent radio stations, and the vast majority of the major stations were owned by the same corporate entities, and they play the same 18 songs over and over again all day long. So it's
Yes.
like you're hearing the same type of sound. I've heard a lot of young people say, "Yo, man, that's just the music you got to play to get airplay. I got to make this type of music, otherwise I won't."
Right.
So, and I don't know. So it's just kind of crazy. But I'm happy to hear y'all say that. The unique fingerprint or leaving your imprint or it being an extension of your music should be your music or your art should be an extension of your personality.
Right.
Mhm.
And the very voice that I hated at 16, 17 is the one that gave me the longevity and the unique sound that people couldn't kick me off the record. Because
Wow.
believe me, they tried. And if I hadn't been unique, might not have a career.
Now, when you say the voice that you hated, which voice is that?
The one that I'm speaking with, I hated my voice.
Oh
It was
no.
like a man. Like I wanted to sing like Denise Williams. 1984. I was 17, 18 years old. You heard Let's Hear It for the Boy. You heard my dad. See, my dad was a music enthusiast. He was the one that turned me on to Dorothy Moore, all this stuff. And his favorite song was Flowers
Hmm.
from The Emotions. Fast forward, Wanda and Vaughn is my BFFs now. That's crazy. But Flowers is the record that actually Juan saw on television, and that's how he met Wanda, and they married later. That was the song that he fell in love with. Flowers, that sound, I was like, I need to sing high to sing good. That was what I thought. And if
Right.
and my music teacher said to me in 12th grade, you're not a good vocal because it's too low. You have to sing soprano. And I was heartbroken. I said, Mom, I don't think this music thing. So I went to FAMU. I never sung a thing. People like, she's a singer. I'm posting charts and Billboard. They're like, I ain't know Terry sung.
Wow.
Nobody knew. Not even my sorority. They were like, Terry sings? Oh, we know she did something, but we didn't hear nothing really. Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
No. I
I'm
did
sorry.
not believe I had a sound that should be on records. Mm-mm. No.
I'm sorry. That's almost tragic. What?
Yeah, if I had listened to, sometimes teachers
Oh, I'm
don't
glad you didn't listen.
No, and then there's other teachers that inspire you to the planet,
Right.
to the top, to the planet and back. So, it's just, but I'm very, very pleased that to work with people like Lorenzo is icing on the cake.
Gotcha. And he said he just seems so non-assuming. Like if you pass by him in the
That's what
supermarket, you have
he,
no
oh, in
idea.
the
You don't
vegan
work with
supermarket,
everybody in the
it ain't
industry.
gonna be the meat supermarket,
Okay.
the
Okay.
vegetable
Let
stand.
me reframe that. Walk by him at the farmer's market, and you
Yeah,
have
that's where
no
he's at.
idea.
And he's
Wow.
so trying to get me out there. Like he's just like, Terry, when you come out, because we're doing another project for another lady. He's like, so when you come out, we're just gonna, I'm telling you, I can get you ribs and you won't know the difference. But a lady tricked me just a week ago. I went into a vegan restaurant that I didn't know was vegan. I thought I was having teriyaki chicken with something. And the lady said, that wasn't meat. I went, what? So I
Wow.
got tricked. Yeah, it was
Oh,
good.
that's from I was telling her about this spot. It's Compton Vegan. They have vegan ribs.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it tastes like ribs.
Oh yeah.
He said, yeah. So, look,
Okay. I had
she
somebody
said,
somebody gave me a burger once and said, "Man, when you eat it, you won't know that it's meat." I knew it wasn't meat.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, maybe if I ever make it out to Cali, you're gonna have to take me to a spot where, because I'm not a big vegetable guy, so I'm gonna need somebody to kind of keep
oh,
me in.
wow.
Like,
D,
Definitely. We know.
all right,
I'll take you to a few places to check some stuff
oh my
out.
God. Yeah,
I'm gonna
take me
need
right
that.
over to Burger King. But
No.
You know what? Hey, everybody, that is my hour. I gotta go grab my babies. So I so appreciate this conversation. It made my day. Terri, please tell everybody else about your single that's out right now, because I'm going to take this, strip the audio, send it out to all my folks who are still doing
Oh,
radio.
thank you. We're feeling blessed. Thank you. I don't take you for granted. I hope you can look in our face. I'm glad you saw who Lorenzo is too. We're
Absolutely.
very, very real people. Cool. We're, I think that's why we connect. That we're just who we are. We don't. It is what it is, and we're just doing what we do. And people like you make our life easier.
Appreciate that. Yeah, I feel
You're
like old cousins. I'm just now meeting for the first time again.
at the
It's like,
fish
hey,
fry. I got to get Lorenzo to do at the fish fry. You know,
woo,
feature
that's what's up.
Bobby Rush.
Oh man, listen, that is absolutely my time. But again, I gotta say, I'm gonna say it 100 times. I so enjoyed this conversation. I
Thank
needed
you
this
so much.
conversation, and I know our listeners and viewers, once we go live with it, they're gonna love this conversation. I'm saying thank you so much for joining me on the last page.
You are so welcome. Big shout out to Marvin A. Mack, who just secured a feature with myself and Jeter Jones that's going to be coming up.
Oh man,
And Lorenzo will be producing a whole lot more music. Check us all out on Instagram. The Terri Green Project is my Instagram. And www.terrigreenmusic.com. You find all the socials there. And Spotify, YouTube, Two Wrongs Don't Make It Right. Don't Make It Right. It's there, and I hope they like it and keep streaming it. And I appreciate you having me on.
oh man, it's an honor. Lorenzo, anything you want to add? How can people follow you, or you like low key on social media?
Oh, I'm Zo Smooth on Instagram, ZOSMOOTH, and my website is zosmoothproductions.com.
All right. Well, I'm about to hit both of y'all page, hit up all y'all social media, and I'm gonna start following. I will be encouraging everybody else to follow. This was phenomenal. So
Thank you. D, are you from New York originally?
now I'm from a little town from Waterbury, Connecticut.
Connecticut. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing because I played in Waterbury too. That was cool.
Oh,
Yeah, I
make
sure
me cry
did.
now. That's my
Yeah,
hometown.
Waterbury, Connecticut. Yeah, no, I kept hearing that I'm going to see a New Yorker, but Connecticut, next best thing. Like
Yeah, we right. We're like New York's little brother.
exactly. I thank you for having us, though. I really
You are.
appreciate it, Lorenzo. You got my heart, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Appreciate the both of you.
Man, and thank you for joining. Thank you for inviting them. Thank you for joining in because that just made it that much doper. All right,
Yes,
y'all.
thank you.
We
All
out.
right.
Peace.